name is Jerry Beckley. I am the Vice President of Computing and Information Technology at West Kentucky Rural Electric out of a little town called Mayfield, Kentucky. You probably heard of Mayfield. We had a major tornado go through, kind of wipe us out 2 Christmases ago. So we are kind of rebuilding ourselves out still. Wanted to talk to you a little bit today about paperless. West Kentucky Rural is my 5th major company that I've worked for in my career. I have been in higher education, I've been in government, and now I'm in the co-op space. I've also been in finance. So one of the things that I strive anytime I enter a company is how do we become more efficient? How do we become more effective? And also, how do we respond to our members better? So one of the things that we always look at is, okay, how do we cut our own budget? Everybody loves savings, and being an executive, we loves us some savings. So one of the things that I always do that always gets everybody panicked is when I say I'm gonna start taking printers away. When I say I'm gonna start taking printers away, there's strokes, people are screaming, I get people pointing fingers at me, that kind of stuff. But I have a philosophy. If it starts digital, it dies digital. Nowhere in that process should you ever have to print anything, okay? And we're in a digitized age today. And probably much like you all in your areas, in your companies, you get an invoice via paper, it goes to the finance department, they scan it, do whatever. It goes into optical, you get a copy because you got to stamp, sign, or do whatever. Well, that's not very efficient, and it takes a lot of time, money, and effort. So one of the things that we did is we said, we got to be able to do this a little bit better. So we went ahead and started to look at paperless, and we had some problems. One of the things that we had is we had a legacy system called Open Text, and prior to that, they had an AS400. And if you're older than 45, an AS400 is way old. So you had an AS400 that had document images that were converted to another proprietary that now I needed to convert again. So I was, a full 3 levels up. So we needed to ask ourselves, how do we automate? My job as VP, I don't solve problems. That's not my job. My job is to empower the other VPs to solve their problems. Okay? So when I met with finance and I said, okay, what do you need? Well, we need to be more efficient in the way we were doing it. From floor to here, there was stacks of paper. As far as the eye could see, is stuff that needed to go into optical. Is it ever going to get done? Let's all be honest with each other. It ain't happening. You can scan every hour. We always love to use summer interns. They don't care. They're not even indexing it right because they don't care. They're just, is it ever going to get done? No, it's not. But let's go ahead and start doing it right. So the financial impact to us was actually minimal because I already was in a contract with a company called OpenText. Well, it was about Duo. When I say optical, I literally mean what we used to call it, if you guys may remember this, we used to call them jukeboxes. They stand about this tall, it looks like a jukebox. We actually had a jukebox with platters. And for a guy like me, I'm like, oh my gosh, how old is this, We couldn't get parts for it, which meant when I went to the senior team and I said, guys, you do understand if this thing fails, we're out of business. You can't get this data off. We need to convert. So we said, okay, well, what's the workflow? Workflow is the hardest thing for anybody I've talked to because it makes you sit down and draw out a process. Okay, an invoice comes in, what do you do with it? Being an IT guy, I'm if then. If this happens, then this happens. That's what IT, I'm a computer geek like the rest of you. If this happens, then this has to happen, and then you draw it out. We got so simplistic at some of this that I rolled out big pieces of paper, and on our hands and knees, I said, we're gonna write up one process, an invoice coming How does it work today? How do you want it to work? Okay? So, we still have tons of filing cabinets, but what's the problem with tons of filing cabinets? The building burns down, tornado, hurricane, I come from hurricane. If there's a hurricane in Kentucky, we've got big fire flood, whatever. If the building gets destroyed, what happens? It's gone, guys, it's gone. And I kept telling them that. Because everybody knows that one of these days you're gonna get litigation if somebody wants to see a membership app from 30 years ago. And they're gonna look to me and go, hey, JB, where is that application at? Is it an optical? Don't know. The platter, what platter was it in? I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. The jukebox doesn't work anyway. Okay? We still have, probably as big as that wall, something called microfiche. For you young people, you don't even know what microfiche is. Microfiche is old, like 1960s and 70s stuff. So they're like, well, are you gonna digitize that? I said, find me a company, I could make $1 million if I could just do it myself. But our old legacy systems just weren't getting it done. As I put here, it wasn't user friendly. It just really wasn't. I needed something that was robust from the finance side. What did I want to see from being an executive? My CEO wanted to be able to do stuff on the run, like me. I'm here. I leave here, drive home Saturday. I'm on a plane Sunday, heading to Phoenix. Now, what could happen is when I come back in the office next Thursday is what is going to be sitting on my desk. Stacks of invoices to start reading, right? But I want that. So I wanted to be a lot better than it was. So Aaron, who is our manager of finance and head of folding, I talked them into this. And, you know, POs and non-PO invoice process workflows. We have automated this. How would you like that an invoice comes into a special email, we call ours invoices, starts off digital, records digital. It's digital all the way through. It never ever gets printed off, never. That's what this is. We automated our stuff. The approval routing. How many people here have a policy of if it's over 5,000 or 10,000, the CEO has to sign off on it, or you know, you can sign up to $1,000. The workflow does that for you. I don't have to worry about, well, you know, this is 10,000, so I can do 10,000, or is it 20,000? When does the CEO sign up? I don't have to worry about any of that because it's built into the flow. The minute I hit submit, it goes on to its next person. Purchasing requests. Some people don't do purchase requests anymore. POs, we do. We do, and I'm glad we do. I was kind of on the fence. I'm glad that we do. Because we have policies in place that say over $10,000, you have to have more than 3 quotes. Okay? That gives me the opportunity to go through and make sure that I've got all of my ducks in a row before it goes to my CEO. Because anything over $10,000, he has to sign off. So we did our e-forms. Nice thing is this, we have CSA's product. We actually have what's called Microsoft GP. Microsoft GP stands for Microsoft Great Plains. Okay, so ours connects into that. Okay, so what Mosaic did with us is said, okay, let's get this connection together. Because I don't want them to enter here and have to go over here and do it again. What is that called? It's called inefficiency. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make sure that this thing flows straight into Great Plains and vice versa. I can, if I get an invoice and one of the ladies puts it in a different GL that I don't want that to come out of that GL, I want it to come out of this GL. I can change the GL, but it notes that I made a GL. So there's no shenanigans you can do by hiding money or hiding where things go. there is always a audit trail. You know, Jay Beckley made this change. And if they don't agree, they put it back, which 90% of the time they do anyway. File and find customer records workflow. We are beginning to get a lot done a lot faster than we've ever done before. And one of the things that we really loved is the way that it flows. We just don't have to wait anymore. I'm not articulating it very well, but anytime I have to go in and look for something, I can find it almost instantly. I don't have to go to the finance lady and say, hey, could you look up what I paid AT&T last year? I can go into the system and type in AT&T. And anything that I have rights to see, like I can't go in and say payroll and I get paid because I don't have rights to that, okay? So all of this stuff is automated. Data input, or import, we actually, that was our big thing between Mosaic, us, and I had to hire a third party. Because as I said earlier, I told you that we had 3 levels of data. I found someone who could write in COBOL. And if you're over 40 again, you know what they don't teach COBOL anymore. Those guys are dying off, but I found one. He actually had to write COBOL code to get it out so we could put it in here, okay? So one of the things that we really enjoyed is we had a lot of meetings and a lot of systems, we had a lot of requirements. My job was to stop what we call groupthink. My job was to stop groupthink. But can we make it do such and such? Well, was that part of the scope of work? Can we make it do X, Y, and Z? Well, is that part of the scope of work or does that need to be a phase 2? So it took us, between us and Mosaic, gosh, probably 7 or 8 months to convert. This is me being on a call. I actually hired this guy, and met with him every week. And he was just tearing it up. He had an epiphany one day. The minute I accidentally said in a meeting, AS400, said, I hate this AS400 nonsense. And he goes, wait, stop. Are you saying this came out of an AS400? And I said, yes. He had it figured out in 12 hours. If you would have said that 7 months ago, I would have been done with it. But he didn't even know to look at that file structure, okay? So what's the benefits? Our invoices are paid much quicker than they were. So we do check printing and mailing every Wednesday. So I can have an invoice show up today, I can approve it today, and it's printed by the next day, out she goes. It's that fast. But Jerry, what are you saying, buddy? You're sitting here in Chattanooga. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you the secret about that here in a minute. Better budget prep. I do the budget for IT, but there's things in the OT side that I'm responsible for. For an example, if there is a license for census, okay, that sits on my side of the budget because it's just how it's been designed. So if it's software related, but do you know I never saw a census bill? I never signed off on it. Why? Because the VP of engineering got that. But now because of the workflow, it falls under my account number and now I'm seeing it. So, better budget prep. So this year I don't have to go to my colleague and go, how much did you pay for census last year? Well, I think it was 20, or it might have been 22. So I put 22 in and it comes in at 28. I don't have to do that anymore because I'm really signing off on those bills. So now I know how to budget better because I can know, dude, I paid $28,000, you're like $5,000 off. Approvers has access to pull historical information instead of going through accounting department. Love this. We had an incident 3 weeks ago, and I needed to go find something, and I typed in that company name, up she comes. And I can look at anything that I have rights to. Let me back that out. Anything that I have rights to see, okay? Found what I was looking for, got with them, said, we've already paid you. It's one of those, vendors who call and say, hey, we haven't gotten your payment. I pulled it up and told them the check number and everything. They got paid. Receiving and paying for inventory items through the workflow is a painless process now. It used to all be manual and be a mess, and it used to take forever. Now we simplify it. Decrease the time for processing for the accounts payable department. I don't work with those ladies, so I asked them to kind of put a couple of these in. So I guess it works for them. They're happy with it. They're not mad at me anymore, so I've got to put that into, that's the plus category. They're not mad at me anymore. Better understanding of where money is allocated. So, like I just gave you the example of census or MillSoft or whatever, you get a better sense of how much am I paying for internet access. It's not just budgeting at that point. So when my CEO goes, hey, how much do we pay for internet access? I can tell him because now I am approving those. Okay? Search function is easy. You just go by your GL code. Let me check one thing real quick. So we did something that I don't think anybody else has done. I'll have to ask my young colleague Ken here. We actually took ours a step further. I get invoices on the road now. It's not a mobile app. I use Safari on my phone. Super simple. A PDF comes in, and I look at it, and I look at the PDF, and let's say it's my internet bill through AT&T. I got two buttons, approve and deny. If I approve it, done. I can be doing it sitting at the airport, I can do it in the elevator, I can sit there doing it at dinner. I did 4 of them at the Cracker Barrel in Nashville today. They don't have to wait. Or I could wait until next Thursday when I'm gonna be back in the office to do it and it go through the process. So my CEO who was in Scotland, he did his in the airport. This is how you become efficient. I would say probably me and the CFO have the most invoices. I probably do, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred invoices a month. I do a lot of invoices. That's how it works. It's so smooth. And out of all the systems I've used, and I've used a couple over the years, this is the best one that we have. So we're doing phase 2. I'm not happy that we don't sit and we're gonna go to the next phase. Next phase, and I sprung this on Mosaic a couple of days ago, automated expense reporting. How many of you travel, you gotta come home, you gotta get your receipts together, and then you gotta wait for your credit card statement, and then you gotta get them all matched up, and then you turn it all in and hope nobody gripes. What if you take a picture, automatically goes through the workflow, and the only thing that has to be tagged out is the statement for your credit card. I can't make it any easier than that. Cool thing is, I already kind of do a lowbrow version of this. I have OneDrive. We have OneDrive. We have M365 at West Kentucky. So use your OneDrive. So when I ate at the Cracker Barrel, while I was talking to the girl, I took a picture of my receipt, uploaded it to my folder, threw the receipt in the trash. Don't need you anymore. So when my credit card statement comes in, I just check everything off. The only thing that has to be digitized now is the paper copy of my statement. But because I'm a good guy, I actually go out to the bank and download my statement. So everything they get is already digitized.